right, welcome back. The time right now, 6:41 on this May 10th, and we got to start things off with wishing all the mothers out there this morning a happy Mother's Day. That is the most important thing on the agenda for this day in history. Put a little graphic together of us and our moms.
Oh, look at that.
So, happy Mother's Day, Mom. I know you're watching. And my grandmas, they like to tune in as well. So, yeah, shout out to all the moms out there. It is not an easy thing to do. We're grateful for all of them.
Hardest job in the world, they say.
Yeah. All right. We will switch gears now to some events on this day in history. Back in 1872, a woman by the name of Victoria Woodhull became the first woman nominated for the U.S. presidency by the Equal Rights Party at Apollo Hall in New York City. So she became involved in the women's suffrage movement a few years prior in 1869. She made history in 1871 when she became the first woman to testify before a committee of the U.S. House of Representatives. So, in the famous words of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, women belong in all places where decisions are being made.
I love
Still waiting on, she was the first woman nominated to be president, which at the time, the Constitution, I don't know what that would have been like, but still waiting on that first woman to
And what a crazy time to be on Mother's Day.
It's
so fitting,
celebrating all the women out there. So 1879, Milwaukee Exchange opened on this day, providing the city's first telephone subscriptions. There were 15 customers on the first day. Angus Hibbard, who was a very prominent figure in telephone pioneering at the time, he was there to help make the telephones a success. He was born in Milwaukee, one of the early telephone operators by the name of Pauline Juneau. She was actually the granddaughter of the fur trader who founded Milwaukee.
Well,
so
crazy.
Yeah, some local tidbits
Love it.
on this May 10th. And then wrapping things up here, a classic, 1996, the disaster movie Twister by Michael Crichton it premiered on this day.
Interesting.
So the original, I know there's the
there's a
newer
newer one as well. But no, I remember watching that and being so scared that like tornadoes were going to pop up at any time.
It's fun to watch the science movies because there's some things that are fabricated, and then but then when they get the facts right, you're like, oh, they did their research. But, yeah, so that's this day in history for May 10th.
Love it.
Happy Mother's Day.
Yes.
Thanks so much, Lainey. Well, coming up next year on the morning show,